Think 1950s cars. Think decaying mansions. Think the worst medical system in the Western Hemisphere. And then you have Cuba. Well, next to Haiti. Amongst the worst medical systems in the Western Hemisphere is the glory garden of Cuba's socialism. Think of Cuba, where secretaries will go out with a visitor from Canada or America for a Coca-Cola and a dance and then go home and have sex with that person because the Coca-Cola and the dance are so expensive. So if you want to see an America like that, you're on the right track.
Savage, the Savage Nation.
Takes the news and tears it apart and puts it back together in a way that I can understand it.
Talk 910, KNEW.
The sky is blue and the sun is golden and the hills are glorious and the sunsets through the fog can tear your heart out. You know, when you see the fog lifting off this bay or you see the fog rolling in over the Sausalito Hills, you forget Obama, you forget the whole deal. I mean, nature is it. Nature's eternal, which is why I'm always drawn to nature and animals. That's why I'm drawn to the little bit of coastal cruising that I do, or the bay cruising, predominantly bay cruising, although that's going to soon change with a new Savage vessel coming into my life in the near future. But as I say to you, I'm reading a book, The Cruising Guide to Central and Southern California, one of the finest cruising books ever written by Brian Fagan. You know, it's amazing to me what you can find in the world of books. Golden Gate to Ensenada, Mexico, including the offshore islands, and every cove is covered by this man, and pictures that he took in his sailings over the years, which he started 35 years ago. No one's ever written a better book. Astounding. And you don't even have to be a boater to read this book as a piece of history of California coast. So as I say to you, you can learn from anything. Whatever your interests are, if you find the right teachers or the right writers or the right storytellers, you can learn from anything. And in this sense, as I say to you, I'm reading about the early history of the coast of California and reading this cruising guide because I hope to come up from Ensenada in early September up to maybe Santa Barbara with a new boat that's coming in through the Panama Canal. I'll tell you that story another time, and I'll keep it very generic. But I'll join the crew in Ensenada, or I'll join the crew after it clears customs in San Diego, and I'll come north up to a certain point. So I'm reading about Santa Catalina Island. If some of you have been to Catalina Island, it's pretty magical. Santa Catalina Island, 18.5 miles long, 7 miles across, is a submerged mountain chain whose peaks hover offshore above the haze on a summer's day. Catalina's isolation goes back millions of years, creating a unique environment. 12 inches of rainfall a year. Amazing. And then you read on. Catalina's remoteness, even at the height of the Ice Age, 20,000 years ago, when sea levels were as much as 300 feet lower than today, Al Gore, meant that relatively few plant and animal species made it across the channel. Some tiny seeds arrived on air currents, others like the holly-like toyon in birds' beaks. The Pacific created such an effective barrier that only about 400 native plant species have become established on the island, many of them in local plant communities. During the past 10,000 years, humans have introduced the wild oats that dominate the island's grasslands and many other plants. Beautiful writing, isn't it? But, as I say, when you read about the early days off the coast of California and you see how Santa Barbara was struggling to survive, and the early pioneers into Santa Barbara had to survive by selling hides, lumber, and other natural products, you realize how far we have fallen as a nation of free men. You realize that we have a government that is a world unto itself, a government that produces nothing, a government that creates nothing, a government that provides no services whatsoever, and a government that simply picks your pocket and rewards those who put the government in power and enable it to aggrandize even more power. And this is very dangerous because when the people start to wake up, they start to rebel, and there is a rebellion brewing in America. There's a rebellion brewing against this imposter, Obama, and it's brewing on many different levels. And what is going to happen when push comes to shove is very clear. This man, this Obama, is putting in place the private police force that he slipped when he said he would create should he become president. Do you remember that soundbite? I'm almost afraid to play it. Because every time I play it, I can't sleep for weeks, and I don't want to play it again unless you have it, Andy, we'll play it again.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well-funded.
A civilian national security force that is armed, that's as big as the U.S. military, answering only to Obama, which is the SS or the SA. If you don't see the handwriting on the wall, you're crazy, you're blind, you're on drugs. You're on drugs. Now, I want you to add to this the fact that he took a street thug from Oakland, California, who had harassed the police for years, and he put him in the White House. We don't know what the man is doing in the White House. We don't know what budget he was given to create this team of brown shirts. Does anyone know? Now, what about the fact that Obama has hired the head of La Raza, Cecilia Munoz, and put her in the White House, given her an office, put her in the West Wing, and given her a budget? La Raza is in the White House. Anti-police activists are in the White House. They're in place, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you understand what I'm saying to you? Revolutions don't happen overnight. They happen by degree. They're happening by degree every day, and it's happening at a much faster pace than even Chavez dared establish when he so destroyed Venezuela. Now he's eliminating radio stations that are of any consequence in Venezuela. He's eliminating them. He's saying that they're disturbing the peace. You can't understand that it's going on here as well? You don't understand why I was targeted by Obama's friends in England? You think that happened out of the blue, that they picked Michael Savage? You think that they just chose my name out of a hat to balance the list? You're mistaken. Yes, there's a degree of that. They wanted to make it look like it wasn't just about Muslim racists who were trying to take over England. And they're very dangerous, those who are in the fringe of the Muslim religion over there. They know that. They're frightened of them, and they're trying to control them. So in order to balance the list, they picked me. But why me? Why not the golfer? Why not the wall banger? Why not? Why not? Why not? Well, why Michael Savage? Because I am a threat to the New World Order. I am a man who stands out from the pack. I am a man who is educated amongst a group of uneducated men in the media. It doesn't mean they're stupid. It doesn't mean that they're ignorant. It doesn't mean that they're not loquacious and brilliant. Some of them are. But they don't have my education. They don't have my historical knowledge. They don't have the ability to teach the people where we are and where we might go. In other words, those who do not know their history are condemned to repeat it. I am the only host who knows history and teaches history in the mix. And I am telling you that we have been here before. Obama is not new. Obama is a continuation of something very old. And that's why when I say to you, even reading a book on the cruising guide of Central and Southern California, and you look back and you see that the little town of Santa Barbara was trying to grow, and it had no money. And all they had to sell were whales and lumber, and things like that. And the town almost went broke. But they had something to sell. They had to sell something. They had to get hides from animals, or they had to fell trees to sell lumber. Hides, tallow, lumber, hardware, passengers. You hear this? Coastal trade gained momentum as numerous sailing vessels and latest steamers ply between the various settlements carrying hides, tallow, lumber, hardware, and passengers. Santa Barbara gradually became a winter resort for wealthy Easterners. Can you believe this? Back in the 1850s, it was a winter resort for wealthy Easterners. Imagine they traveled across the country to go to a winter resort in Santa Barbara. I didn't know that. I thought they all went to Miami. Stearns Wharf was built out from the beach in 1872 and provided a convenient staging post for the coastal steamers. Even Chinese junks traded in the channel, hunting sea mammals and collecting abalone shells for the far-off markets. Then, of course, the gold rush occurs. And the gold rush sets off the drama of California and America. After the gold rush of 1849, the opening of the Transcontinental Railroad. And it explodes. But the point is that the people had to sell something in order to make a living. Hides, tallow, lumber, hardware, and passengers. They had to move passengers. They had to do something. What does your government do for you? Tell me what the Department of Education does for you. Tell me what product Miss Sebelius produces for the American people. Miss Sebelius, the Department of Education head, goes out on the road show with All and Spectator, the turncoat phony, and they try to sell an audience in Austin, Texas, on Obama's socialized medicine. The audience breaks out screaming at them. And Sebelius gets up and a man says to her, how could you pass a bill when you haven't even read the 1,000 pages? Now, remember, this is in liberal Austin, Texas, at a town hall meeting. And Sebelius says, well, wait, I was never a member of Congress, so it doesn't apply to me. And they say, boo, boo, boo. They don't buy it from her. There's a rebellion brewing in America. Even liberals are standing up. They understand they've been sold a bill of goods. Hope and change was a lie. We're going to get out of Iraq. We're going to end war. And now the war in Afghanistan is building up. What for? Why are we in Afghanistan? Tell me why we are in Afghanistan. I want an answer to that question. I want to know why men are dying in Afghanistan. For who?